What if the one person you were supposed to hate became the only one who made you feel alive? Before we unravel this dangerous web of betrayal and desire, tell me where you're listening from in the comment section. Now, let's begin. My husband, Liam Sterling, was the golden boy of Boston's financial district. Isla Sterling, was the perfectly accessorized wife. Our life in our Beacon Hill townhouse was a curated exhibit of success. But exhibits are cold, and gold is a heavy thing to wear. Smile, darling, Liam murmured, his hand a firm, possessive weight on the small of my back as he schmoozed a client. His touch, once a comfort, now felt like a chain. It was a constant reminder of my role, to be beautiful, silent, and his. The enemy entered the party, like a shadow falling over the sun. Ronan Thorne, a corporate raider, the man Liam spent his dinners ranting about, the vulture trying to dismantle his father's legacy company. While Liam was polished marble, Ronan was rough-hewn granite. Dark, intense eyes scanned the room and landed on me, not with polite interest, but with a searing, unnerving focus that stripped away my polished veneer. Later, as I escaped to the balcony for air, his voice came from the shadows. "It's a heavy crown, isn't it, Mrs. Sterling?" I turned, my heart hammering. Ronan leaned against the railing, a crystal tumbler in hand. "I don't know what you mean." "The perfect wife," he clarified, his gaze tracing the tight line of my shoulders. "It looks exhausting." He saw the cage I lived in, and with that single sentence, he handed me the key. My punishment for noticing wasn't his words, but the treacherous, unwelcome thrill they ignited in my blood. Liam's campaign against Ronan intensified. He became more distant, more critical, his touches now performances for an audience rather than acts of affection. My best friend, Chloe, noticed. "You're a ghost, Isla," she said over lunch, her brow furrowed with concern. "Is everything okay with you and Liam?" I lied. Of course I lied. How could I say I was haunted by the eyes of my husband's greatest enemy? A charity gala. Another performance. I was dancing with Liam, his grip too tight, when I saw Ronan across the ballroom, watching us. He didn't look away. He raised his glass in a silent, intimate toast, directly to me. The air crackled. Later, in the lavatory, patting my flushed cheeks with a cold towel, the door opened. It was him. Ronan filled the small space, his presence sucking all the oxygen from the room. "He doesn't see you," Ronan stated, his voice low. "He sees a trophy on a shelf." "You don't know anything about my marriage," I breathed, my back against the cold marble sink. "I know a prisoner when I see one." He took a step closer. "I know the look of someone who is starving." His thumb brushed a stray tear from my cheek, and the touch was an electric shock, a brand of pure, undiluted sin. It was a punishment for my disloyal thoughts, and yet it felt more like a reward than anything I'd felt in years. I started seeing Ronan everywhere. A coincidental meeting at the art museum. A chance encounter at my favorite coffee shop. I knew they weren't chances. I was both terrified and exhilarated. One afternoon, I broke. I sent a text to the number he'd slipped into my coat pocket at the gala. "Meet me." He was waiting in a dim corner of a secluded bar. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. "This is wrong," I whispered, my hands trembling around my wine glass. "According to whom?" he asked, his gaze intense. "The husband who ignores you? The society that dictates your every move? Your friend, Chloe, who only sees the perfect facade?" He knew about Chloe. He'd been watching, learning. It should have terrified me. Instead, it made me feel seen. "Why me?" I asked, the core question hanging between us. "Because you're a fire in a house of ice, Isla, and your husband is trying to put you out." He leaned forward, his voice a husky promise. Let me show you what it feels like to burn. His confession wasn't of love, but of a deep, undeniable want. It was my punishment for wanting it, too. Liam was waiting for me in our stark, modern living room, his face a mask of cold fury. My best friend, Chloe, sat beside him, her eyes red-rimmed and guilty. I saw you, Liam spat, throwing a grainy photo on the glass coffee table. It was me and Ronan talking outside the bar. Chloe had followed me. My wife, with that animal. The confrontation was brutal. Liam's words were daggers, each one detailing my betrayal. Chloe pleaded, I was worried about you, Isla. I had to tell him. I was numb. The facade had shattered. I didn't deny it. I just stood there, taking his verbal lashing, feeling the walls of my gilded cage finally collapsing on me. His rage, his hurt, it was all a punishment I deserved. But as he finished, a strange calm settled over me. Are you done? I asked, my voice eerily steady. You're right. I was with him. And you know what, Liam? For the first time in years, I felt something other than loneliness. I walked out, leaving my wedding ring on the table. The punishment for my betrayal was freedom. I went to Ronan. His penthouse, high above the city, was nothing like my sterile home. It was all dark wood, floor-to-ceiling windows, and the scent of him, whiskey, spice, and danger. He didn't ask questions. He simply opened the door and let me in from the storm. I was shaking, soaked, and broken. He knows, I choked out. I know, Ronan said, his voice quiet. He led me to the sofa, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. His touch was no longer a searing brand, but a steadying anchor in my hurricane. Was I just a pawn? I asked, looking up at him, needing the brutal truth. A move in your game against Liam? He cupped my face, his thumb stroking my cheek. In the beginning, the thought was there, he admitted, his honesty a shock. But then I saw you, the real you, and the game lost all meaning. The only thing that mattered was you. His confession was my absolution. In the wreckage of my old life, his dangerous love was the only thing that felt safe. His touch, once a punishment for my sinful thoughts, was now my only solace. The fallout was nuclear. Liam, leveraging all his influence and money, launched a scorched earth campaign. He froze my accounts, smeared my name in the press, and used Chloe as a weapon to paint me as an unstable adulteress. But I wasn't fighting alone. Ronan stood beside me, a formidable and ruthless shield. His lawyers countered every move. His resources dwarfed Liam's. He fought for me with a ferocity Liam had never possessed. One night, after a grueling day of legal battles, I broke down in his arms. I've lost everything. You've lost a cage, Ronan corrected, holding me tightly. You have me, and I am not a man who loses. He tilted my chin up, his eyes blazing with a possessive, protective fire. Your husband thought he could own you. I just want you to be free, and I will burn his entire world to the ground to give that to you. His kiss was a vow, a battle cry. It was fierce and consuming, a fusion of shared defiance and a love born from the darkest of places. His touch was no longer my punishment, nor just my solace. It was my weapon. It was my strength. And in his arms, amidst the chaos we had created, I was finally, terrifyingly, and completely alive. Subscribe for more stories where love walks the razor's edge between vengeance and obsession.